She once remarked that she felt violated by the eyes of the world. The myth of BB was a mask that had grown too heavy to wear. She was expected to be eternally 22, eternally blonde, and eternally available to the public's imagination. But inside, the girl from a strict bourgeois Parisian family was suffocating. The very beauty that had given her the world had also stripped her of her humanity. She had become a statue while she was still breathing, and as she approached her 40th birthday, the age where Hollywood and Paris historically began to discard their muses, Bardot decided she wouldn't give them the satisfaction of watching her fade. But here's the question for you. In today's world of social media, where everyone is fighting for 5 seconds of fame, could a star like Bardot even exist today? Or would she have been canceled long before she had the chance to quit? And what do you respect more? The actress who stayed to play the game? Or the icon who had the courage to walk away while she was still on top? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading them. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the golden age of cinema, hit that subscribe button. We have more stories like this coming your way. June 1973. On a sun-drenched film set in the heart of France, the most photographed woman in the world looked into a vanity mirror and decided to destroy her own legend. She was 39 years old. To the rest of the world, she was BB, the sex kitten, the woman who had single-handedly redefined post-war sensuality and turned the sleepy village of Saint-Tropez into a global playground for the elite. To the French Republic, she was the face of Marianne, the very symbol of the nation. But as the director called for another take on the set of The Edifying and Joyous Story of Colonneau, Brigitte Bardot realized she was playing a part she no longer recognized. She didn't just quit the movie, she quit the industry. She walked away from the millions, the adulation, and the toxic glare of the spotlight, never to return. No final world tour, no desperate attempts at plastic surgery to claw back her fading youth, just a clean, brutal break. In an era where stars cling to fame until their last dying breath, Bardot's exit remains one of the greatest enigmas in cultural history. Why did the woman who had everything decide that everything was no longer worth having? Today, we're peeling back the layers of the gilded cage to understand why Brigitte Bardot chose to kill the icon, to save the woman. To understand why she left, we have to understand the monster that BB had become. Brigitte didn't just become famous, she became an infrastructure. In the late 1950s, the French economy reportedly earned more from Brigitte Bardot films than it did from the export of Renault cars. She was an industry, but she was an industry built on the male gaze. Her first husband, director Roger Vadim, didn't just discover her, he sculpted her. He famously said he wanted to create a creature of nature, uninhibited, dangerous, and purely aesthetic. But there is a dark side to being a universal fantasy. For the middle-aged man watching from the 21st century, it's easy to see the glamour. But for Bardot, it was a slow-motion claustrophobia. By the mid-60s, she couldn't step onto her own balcony without a telephoto lens capturing her every move. She was hunted. Not like a star, but like prey. But it wasn't just burnout. It was a calculated assassination of her own career. On her 39th birthday, she announced her retirement. The world was in shock. Hollywood offered her millions for a one last time appearance. She refused. She didn't want the money. She wanted her soul back. To the public, 39 is an awkward age, not yet an elder, but no longer the ingenue. For Bardot, it was the perfect time to vanish. By quitting at 39, she effectively froze her beauty in the public's mind. But more importantly, she reclaimed the one thing fame had stolen: her privacy. Most stars retire to luxury. Bardot retired to a war zone. She didn't just move to a villa to sip wine. She pivoted her entire existence toward a cause that many at the time thought was eccentric animal rights. But for Brigitte, this wasn't a hobby. It was a redemption arc. "I gave my youth and my beauty to men," she famously declared. "I am now giving my wisdom and my experience to animals." Why animals? Because, as she often told the press, an animal doesn't care if you have wrinkles. An animal doesn't ask for an autograph or judge your past lovers. In the eyes of a stray dog or a slaughtered seal, she wasn't BB, she was just a human. This wasn't a PR stunt. Some call it unfiltered honesty, others call it bitterness. But if we look closer, we see the same woman who quit cinema in 1973, a woman who refuses to play by anyone's rules. Whether you agree with her politics or not, there is an undeniable integrity to her defiance. She didn't fade into a comfortable, quiet retirement. She remained a fighter. She traded being the world's obsession for being the world's conscience, even when that conscience made people uncomfortable. She proved that she was never just a pretty face. She was a force of nature that simply couldn't be contained by a 35mm frame. She sold her personal jewelry, her dresses, and her memorabilia, the very relics of her fame, to fund the Brigitte Bardot Foundation. She traded the red carpet for the frozen ice of Canada, protesting the seal hunt. She became a pariah in the eyes of the French establishment, often being fined for her outspoken, unfiltered, and increasingly controversial views. But for the first time in 20 years, she was free. She had traded the gilded cage of cinema for the raw, unapologetic reality of the natural world. She chose to age in the sun without the help of a surgeon's knife, effectively telling the world, "This is me. Take it or leave it." By walking away at 39, Bardot did something few icons have the courage to do. She allowed herself to age in public, without apology. In the eyes of modern Hollywood, this is the ultimate sin. But to her, it was the ultimate liberation. However, the warrior phase of her life hasn't been without its storms. As she grew older, the same fire she used to protect animals began to manifest in her social and political views. She became a polarizing figure in France, facing multiple fines for her outspoken commentary on immigration and the changing face of French culture. By 1973, the friction between the woman and the myth reached a flashpoint. Imagine being the most famous woman on the planet, yet you cannot walk your own dogs in Saint-Tropez without a literal riot breaking out. The final straw came during the filming of the edifying and joyous story of Colino. Bardot looked around at the artificial lights, the fake costumes, and the sea of people who didn't see her, but only saw a product to be sold. In an act of quiet rebellion, she bought a goat that was supposed to be used as a prop in the film, just to save it from the butcher. That goat became a symbol. She realized she had more in common with the animal being led to slaughter than with the people holding the cameras. She famously turned to her assistant and said, "I'm fed up with this circus." So, why did Brigitte Bardot really quit? It wasn't because she lost her beauty, it was because she found her voice. She realized that as long as she was BB, the symbol, she could never be Brigitte, the human being. Her exit wasn't a retreat, it was a victory. In a world that demands women, especially beautiful women, stay young and silent forever, Bardot's departure was a loud, defiant no. She is one of the few stars in history who didn't let fame consume her. Instead, she consumed her own legend and used the ashes to build a life that actually meant something to her. She remains the eternal rebel of Saint-Tropez, a woman who looked at the pinnacle of worldly success and decided that freedom was the only luxury worth having.